1, 2, 3, 4, how about 5 overtime restarts tonight at Nashville? This is not the most glamorous setup. We've got a porta potty right there, which is fitting because that's where the finish of this race belongs. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. I am coming to you from Nashville Super Speedway Pit Road. You can see folks are already starting to tear things down, clean things up because this circus has to hit the road. We get to do this all over again in 1 week. I don't even know where to start. It was a career night for Zane Smith. You'll hear from him in a moment. You'll also hear from both Denny Hamlin and Kyle Larson, whose rivalry was once again revisited. I legitimately have no idea where to start this video. Should we start with the first overtime? Maybe the second? How about the fifth? How about the Noah Gragson-Austin Cindric game of grab ass that started this whole overtime downward spiral? I guess let's go in this order. Let's start with who I believe was truly the fastest car tonight. That's Christopher Bell, clearly. He started up near the front, led laps early, won the first stage, won the second stage. Christopher Bell now has more stage wins than anyone else in the NASCAR Cup Series this season. That's right, he passed up Kyle Larson tonight. That's no small feat. With a little more than 80 laps to go, there was a caution when Chase Elliott spun out of turn 4. That forced all the leaders to make a decision. We saw several drivers stay out. Others took 2 tires, some gas only. Christopher Bell chose 4, as did Tyler Reddick, who was also really good tonight, as did Denny Hamlin, who was fast. We'll get to him in a moment, as did Chris Buescher and others. Christopher Bell's night unraveled on the ensuing restart, pinned back in traffic, blocked in on the bottom lane, losing positions, tried to squeeze 3 wide middle, got loose, spun out of the outside wall. That was likely the worst aero situation his car had been in all night, and it reacted badly. So unfortunate for Christopher Bell, but again, he did earn 2 more playoff points. That is a huge, huge deal for him. He has more stage wins now than anyone in the Cup Series. Christopher Bell is red hot this summer, and I hope this bad finish tonight doesn't derail the run they're on. Now let's talk about the second fastest car tonight. You can make an argument that it was Tyler Reddick, but I'm going to say it was Denny Hamlin, because once Christopher Bell fell out of this race, Hamlin was able to work his way through traffic much quicker than any of the other drivers who took 4 tires with 80 laps to go. Eventually, he chased down his old rival Ross Chastain, forced Chastain on much older tires into a mistake. That late move to the bottom sort of forced Chastain to attempt a block that I don't think his tires were capable of making. At that point, Chastain wiggles up the track. Hamlin gets the lead. Looked like Denny Hamlin then was going to cruise to his 4th victory of the season when, with half a lap to go, maybe less, Austin Cindric spins out. The aforementioned game of grab ass. Not sure what happened there. It looked like Cindric sort of washed up into Gragson, and so Gragson, being a little frustrated, maybe hip checked him a little down the backstretch. I haven't seen a super clear replay, but that's what it looked like to me. You don't spin out on a straightaway all on your own. From that point on, it was a fuel mileage race. Denny Hamlin's team had enough fuel for 1 overtime restart easily, probably a second one, maybe even a third, but eventually the 11 had to come down pit road. They couldn't make it to the end. They weren't confident. Another heartbreaker for Denny. He continues to have good speed almost every week, the first stage of Iowa excluded, but once again, not the finish he felt he deserved. I thought he was the second fastest car tonight. He also got into it with another friendly rival, Kyle Larson. Late in stage 2, racing for a position inside the top 5, Kyle Larson ran Denny Hamlin up the track a bit. Very defensive, aggressive driving. Hamlin was not too happy, and once the caution came out, went up behind the 5 and bumped him a little bit. Hit him pretty hard in the rear a couple of different times. Larson and Hamlin, of course, have history going back just last week, New Hampshire, when Hamlin pulled very much the same move I feel Larson did tonight. Ran Larson a little bit wide, racing for a position inside the top 5. I feel like Larson just returned the favor tonight. I felt like Hamlin retaliating under caution, as harmless as it maybe was, that seemed in bad taste. And Denny Hamlin afterwards, when asked on pit road about the incident, admitted that Larson didn't do anything wrong. So I don't know. Why the contact under caution? Anyway, this was Hamlin's thoughts.
It was an eye for an eye, right? I ran him up the track a little bit last week, and he ran me up the track this week, and it was all good. And I think, obviously, he got into us and it knocked us into the 22, and then I think, I'm not sure if he wiped out the 1 or not, dropped me in 1, but it's all fun.
I said it last week, I'll say it again here. The score between Hamlin and Larson was out of balance. Far too often, it seemed Larson was at the receiving end of Hamlin's aggressive driving. Tonight, the shoe was on the other foot, and for a few moments there, Hamlin didn't seem to know how to react. Which, I mean, I guess that's Denny Hamlin for you. Oh, but things didn't end there. I want to fast forward to the first overtime restart. Denny Hamlin, the control car in the inside lane, Chastain to his outside. Kyle Larson lines up third, right behind his old buddy in the 11. And heading into turn 1, Larson was all over Denny Hamlin. So close, in fact, that Larson misjudged his entry, clipped the apron, slid up into Ross Chastain, collected several other cars. Ty Gibbs destroyed in this, Kyle Busch, and we'll talk about him in a moment. Big incident, big deal. Hate that for Ross Chastain, Ty Gibbs, the other drivers involved. A bad mistake by Kyle Larson. He shares 100% of the blame. In my opinion, Kyle Larson was fixated on the 11. He remembers what his spotter Tyler Mon said last week. Hey, he roughs you up, you need to give it back. He remembers Hamlin bumping him under caution earlier tonight. Said, hey, that's not cool. I didn't deserve that. I think Kyle Larson would have raced that restart differently if it was anyone else besides Denny Hamlin in front of him. That's not to say he wouldn't still be aggressive, because Kyle Larson is usually very aggressive. He'll force the issue on restarts. But that move in particular, it looked like he was just trying to lift Hamlin's rear tires off the ground and ship him up the racetrack. I don't think Larson would have been that aggressive with anyone else. He was blinded by his desire to get even with Denny Hamlin, and he made a mistake that cost Ross Chastain, Ty Gibbs, others. It was a bad mistake. It was unbecoming of someone as talented as Kyle Larson. I still stand behind what I've said. He should race Hamlin differently than he races most others, but you still have to be smart about it. Like running Hamlin a little wide at the end of stage 2, that was perfect. That's exactly what he needs to do to Hamlin. That will even the score eventually, but trying to shunt the 11 into turn 1 on a tight restart, low success move, high risk, and it cost other drivers dearly. I'm sure a lot of folks are going to look at Kyle Larson and say, what the heck was that? That not a good look, bad mistake. Larson explained his perspective of that restart after the race.
Yeah, I was with Denny on the front, and I was just going to try and get into him to wash him off the bottom to give myself some clean air, because I knew just being second row, whether you're inside or outside, you weren't going to have a shot. And I thought my opportunity to give myself a chance to win was to get clean air on the nose. And yeah, I just ran in really deep, got tight, and drove into Ross. So, hate that for sure. And then the next restart, I just got really out of shape through the gears, and thankfully didn't cause a crash on the front stretch. And then the next one, we ran out of fuel and caused that wreck. So, yeah, hate that for Kyle.
At this point, I want to talk about Kyle Busch. And trust me, I have good things to say about Kyle Busch this week. I know the night didn't end the way he wanted to. Crashed on the front stretch in front of jeering fans. But Kyle Busch and Randall Burnett and that whole team showed me something tonight we haven't seen in weeks. There was true passion, true desire, motivation tonight. Kyle Busch fired off horribly. Once again, was running outside of the top 30. Part of what hurt him was he slid through his pit box during his first pit stop, which cost him valuable time. He eventually fell off the lead lap, fell out of the free pass position, was complaining that the car was plowing. It's garbage, he said at one point. Looked like another disastrous night coming for Busch and RCR. But then they found something. They worked on the car. Again, they were motivated. There was a desire to get better. I think it was like midway through stage 2, Busch came over the radio and actually said, hey, the balance is getting better. And sure enough, Kyle Busch got back on the lead lap thanks to some timely cautions, and then drove his way up close to the top 20. It was tough to pass out there tonight. I'm not saying Kyle Busch had a top 5 car, but he was making some moves that we'd seen few others make all night. Like the 8 car was decent midway through this race. Even when the pit crew made another mistake, which cost him valuable track position, they didn't panic. They took advantage of being at the back, made some extra pit stops so that, again, when Chase Elliott spun out with 80-something laps to go, they were able to pit, but could afford to take just fuel only because their tires weren't that old. Gained all that track position, and then we got to see Kyle Busch do something he hasn't done much this year. Race inside the top 5, battle door-to-door with fast cars with the race leaders, make passes. Even at a tire disadvantage, he was making passes up to 3rd place. I was extremely impressed with Kyle Busch. Of course, then the Larson Chastain wrecks happens, and Busch is in the wreck. At least the one replay I saw looked like he hit the wall. I guess NASCAR ruled that he wasn't technically in the crash because he didn't actually hit Chastain or Larson or Gibbs. So they gave him his position back. A year or so ago, there was a similar controversy after a race, and I think that one was more arguable. This one wasn't arguable. Busch was in the wreck. It looked like he hit the wall. He should not have gotten his 4th place position back. That was a bad call by NASCAR. I'm not trying to sound like a hater here. That's just the truth. Unfortunately, it didn't matter as, then on the next restart, Larson ran out of gas and Busch got run over and wrecked. So, ultimately Kyle Busch gets a bad finish tonight. So not to end on a down note, My point was what we saw tonight from Kyle Busch was encouraging. All of the 8 team, Randall Burnett included, they made adjustments on the car, went from being a 30th place team to at least a top 15, maybe top 10 team. Sure, circumstances didn't fall their way, but circumstances didn't fall a lot of people's way the way this race ended. I'll leave it at that. And with that being said, man, there's so much to get to at this race. Let's throw up the top finishers. Oh yeah, Joey Logano won this race. Should probably talk about him. He did not have one of the fastest cars, but he has one of the best crew chiefs in the garage in Paul Wolfe. Joey Logano did not qualify well. He started in the deep 20s and made up a few spots in the opening run, but they chose to make their first green flag pit stop later than almost anyone else. They had enough pace to avoid losing a lap. They were one of the last cars on the lead lap. But then when the stage caution flew, because they didn't have many laps on their tires, they just took 2 and gained like 10 or 15 spots. Suddenly they're in the top 10, just like that. Bad qualifying effort, erased. They were aggressive once again in stage 3. Again, that Chase Elliott caution period. Logano took 2 tires and I believe restarted like 7th. I know we got into it with Hamlin at times in this race. Joey Logano didn't have a great car, but everything fell perfectly into his lap, and Paul Wolfe does deserve some credit. I'm not sure if he saw the bigger picture. Obviously, if there aren't 5 overtimes, Logano's nowhere close to winning this race. I'm trying to give his crew chief credit, but the more I think about it, I really can't. They just got lucky. Let's just call it what it is. They got lucky. Good block in the final lap there when Tyler Reddick was soaring around the outside, played the air to his advantage. Well done there. But, I mean, I can applaud Paul Wolfe and Logano for the small track position victories throughout the race, but ultimately this thing fell into their lap because of the Cindric and Gregson caution, because of the first, second, third, fourth overtimes failing, laps continuing to be added. Eventually the actual dominant cars had to pit for fuel. Larson just ran out of fuel. I mean, look at this top 10. I mean, I'm sorry. Zane Smith got second. With all due respect, he had no business finishing second. Before I go on a rant, we did get to hear from Zane Smith. It was a career night. I know he didn't run top 5, but a second is a second. That's big for this team. They've struggled so badly. So before I go off and rant here, let's say something positive. Here's Zane Smith after a podium finish.
We really showed how capable a car can be in cleaner air. It's really hard to get there. So proud of our pit crew, proud of everyone for just sticking with it. And I know it's easy to get sidetracked there with those rain delays, and we stayed at it and was looking at probably a top 20 day, and I was up to do something different. If we get spun on a restart, who cares? You never know how many shots you're gonna have at a cup win, like I said. So just proud of the result.
Great job by the rookie, holding his own on those final restarts against championship drivers, veterans. Well played, well done. But look at the rest of this top 10. Daniel Hemrick sneaks in down there. Ryan Preece gets a top 5. Bubba Wallace was not a top 10 car tonight. He ran really well in stage 1. I think drove his way up to like 10th or 11th place, but stalled out there and then actually faded as the rest of the race went on. They played a very aggressive strategy. Again, 80 laps to go. That caution for Chase Elliott spinning. I know everyone's going to fixate on the Cindric spinning there with 2 to go, but Chase Elliott spinning with 80-something to go, that was really the turning point of this race, because Bubba Wallace was another driver. They stayed out knowing it was going to be really tight on fuel, got all that track position, hard to pass tonight, and it almost worked for him. First couple overtimes, if we'd ended it there, Bubba probably gets a top 10. But after a while, he too had to pit, took advantage of some wrecks to still get a top 10. But Bubba wasn't a top 10 car. He was noticeably worse than all of his teammates. Like Bell, Reddick, Hamlin, Truex were top 5 most of the night. Ty Gibbs, I know he got crashed, but was top 10 most of the night before then. Bubba Wallace was 25th. Like the second half of this race before that caution with 80-something laps to go. We should be having a real conversation about Bubba Wallace, Booty Barker, that duo not living up to expectations, because we'll look at the playoffs in a moment. It's not good. It's not great. Instead, Bubba Wallace gets a top 10. That's going to mask the clear performance issue tonight. They did not get better. They got worse as the night went on. They did not adjust their car correctly. But we're not talking about that, because on the stat sheet, Bubba Wallace has a top 10 finish. So that's what I mean. I look at these results, and good for Preece with a top 5. I mean, genuinely, good for him. Again, good for Zane Smith, Hemrick with a top 10. Like that, there's a lot of good, feel-good stories here. It's the way you feel after, a 2 a.m. Daytona race with 7 cars still running. It's cool when some of these guys get great finishes, but did we learn anything? Is Zane Smith a top 5 car at concrete ovals? No, I don't think so. That's all I'm saying. That's why I began this episode by talking about basically everyone who crashed out. It took a while to actually get to the eventual winner, because while Joey Logano won this race, and that's huge for him, 5 playoff points, locks into the playoffs officially, I don't think this means Joey Logano is especially great at this type of track or anything, or that he's about to go on a run. I don't think we can take that from this. It's a great win. Paul Wolfe needs to pat himself on the shoulder, pat himself on the back, but that's it. There's no bigger picture thing we can learn from this race, because this race was madness. Music City madness. That's what this is. Let's just take a look at the playoff grid. Joey Logano winning blows this up. Now it's a huge gap between Alex Bowman, wow, and Bubba Wallace. Alex Bowman has lost 15 points by my count the last 2 weeks. I don't know what he did the week before that, but another struggle in the Ally 400 for the Ally driver. Not great. I know we got a top 15 finish, but again, he's another guy who did not have a top 15 car tonight. Didn't appear so. I mean, now it's must win for all these guys. It's kind of a bummer, honestly, because we were actually shaping up to have a pretty tight points battle between Logano, Bubba, big names, big personalities. That's gone. Now it's just, hey, can you win? You got 7 more chances. Can you win a race? Seeing Kyle Busch's name next to a minus 104 is just surreal. That doesn't seem real to me. I don't believe it. I don't know what else to say. Let's put this race on the Groovy gauge. All right. Oh, nope. 30-minute lightning clock initiated once again. Yeah. Did you guys remember this race was rain delayed? I kind of forgot about that. A lot of weird things happened today. The race moving from NBC to USA Network because of the Olympics. Gosh, the Olympics always getting in the way of NASCAR scheduling. I cannot give this a good score. Hard to pass for one. Good cars could. Christopher Bell made passes. Hamlin made passes early on when Bubba, I thought was good, passed like 14 cars in the opening stage before losing the handle almost completely. So you could pass if you were good, but it wasn't easy. And we saw on the last lap, Tyler Reddick come with a full head of steam. I imagine he must have had fresher tires than Logano as well, yet all it took was a little twinge of the wheel. Just dump a little bit of dirty air on the 45 and it's over. It's over. So the racing was okay. The rain delay was a bummer. Moving from network to cable mid-race, bummer. 5 overtimes, exhausting. Not a banner night for the National Association of Stock Car Auto Racing. Great crowd, great weather, except for those 20 minutes it poured down rain. Hot, but that just presents an extra challenge for the drivers and the teams. I don't mind it. I'm from Texas. My pasty white skin may mind it, but I don't mind it. Deep down, I can't go higher than 40%. I understand that some folks who love the chaos are going to go way higher, but this, I hope most of us can agree this was too much. 5 overtimes. Has that ever been done? There used to be a 3 overtime limit, and I'm not sure we ever hit it, at least in the Cup Series, but 5? Someone fact check me. Has 5 overtimes ever been done in NASCAR? Overtime's not that old in the grand big picture of NASCAR. 5 overtimes? This 400-mile race turned into like 400 and almost 450 miles, I think, by my count. Let's look at the scoring pylon. Let's see, 300, I think that says 333 laps. How big is this track? 1.25 mile? So that's roughly 444 miles. That's how long this race was. Wow. All right. Well, fans who stayed through the rain got some bonus racing, if you can call that racing. Didn't feel like it. Oh, by the way, the Groovy Gauge is powered by my friends at Electric E-Bikes. I'm so bent out of shape, frazzled, flabbergasted by the way this race played out that I'm forgetting my host duties. Thank you to Electric E-Bikes for powering the Groovy Gauge all year long. Apologies for this being a more scattered post-race recap than usual. I hope you enjoyed the coverage this weekend following along on Twitter. My video I posted yesterday, I hope you enjoyed that. Close look at a lot of the big storylines coming into this weekend, but like I said, I don't know what to take away from the race itself. Hamlin Larson drama, okay. Bell had a good car once more. Logano is locked into the playoffs. The bubble is bursted. I guess there are some storylines. It took, how long have I been out here recording? Like an hour? Took a while, but I think we finally got there. Thanks for watching this video, y'all. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe for more NASCAR content, commentary, race recaps, and so much more. Big thank you to my Patreon supporters. If you enjoyed the coverage this weekend, it's thanks to these guys. It's thanks to them I'm able to keep this show growing, go on the road, do so many cool things. It wouldn't be possible without your very generous support. I'll be back home tomorrow. We'll probably have a new episode up. It's going to be a busy week. Got the Chicago Street Race. Can we call that a marquee event? It was the second most watched NASCAR race on TV last year, if I recall. So, yeah, I think it's safe to say it is. Looking forward to it. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend, folks. I will see you again real soon. Thanks for watching.